Hey guys, Cam for 15 back at it with another My Hero Academia manga chapter review for you guys as we are back with the manga. Yesterday's episode of My Hero Academia was great. Me and my co-host Third Wolf actually did talk about the episode yesterday about Dobby's dance, and that was a great moment. That was a great moment. So props to the anime for adapting a very great manga chapter into what we got here, and man, it was great. It was great. So yeah, but let's get to the manga because the manga content, it's getting pretty crazy and stuff like out of hand and things. So actually, with what happened last week with the whole fact that, well, it looks like the villains are like freaking going crazy and they're back on the offensive, and then it looks like they're winning. Twice returns. Dobby's at Gunga Mountain to confront Endeavor and everything. So obviously, we start the chapter off actually going over to Okuto Island, where Ochako and Sue are taking on Toga. So we cut right back here and we get, I guess, the whole revelation of how Toga was able to use Twice's blood. So that's the thing. We see the fight going on and everything, and pretty much we have it to where Ochako saying her trick for concealing her presence is a basic alley of a type of misdirection. Still, it must be a complex and nuanced move. So there's got to be a limit to how many attackers she can evade at once. And pretty much the thing is, we find out here that Toga is using she's trying to use the high-end nomus that are in the battle area to try to hide, try to cause distractions, and try to get the upper hand on her opponents. But we see that the heroes are actually ganging up on these high-end nomus. Like, we see how Gang Orc is like, there's this one high-end nomu that has no regenerative properties, so we take this nomu down, we're good. And pretty much the thing is, the nomus are getting taken down, which means Toga doesn't have as much of, I guess, of a way to be nullified and keep, hiding everything. And, again, the numbers for the villains on Okuto Island is declining and everything. So that's kind of the thing. Now, Toga goes on to say the more people we lose on our side, the slimmer my chances of avoiding capture become. And the amount of Jin's blood I've got will only allow me 30 to 40 minutes of transformation time. She goes on to say, sure, I could drink it down now and take back the numbers advantage, but then eventually Sadman's Parade is isolated on this island, which, again, they chose Toga to go to Akuto Island because in any event, I guess the heroes somehow found out, she had Twice's blood. Well, there you go. If she uses Twice's blood on this island that is surrounded by water and nothing else, there's nowhere she can go. And pretty much Toga understands, like, well, if I use it, yes, it may give us a numbers advantage for the villains again, but eventually they'll be taken down. The clones will be taken down, and eventually I'll end up losing it and I'll end up getting captured. In the meantime, the narrator goes on to say, up until this point, Himiko Toga's actions were rarely driven by any sort of big picture strategizing. Now, Toga goes on to continue saying this. Even if we could turn things around here, I doubt they left any boats docked on the island, which would be your only shot at getting away. Divide and isolate. Did the heroes know about Jin's blood? Either way, I'm helpless here. The way things are going, it's all over. In that case, I'll do what I'm meant to and bet on Spinner and complete. And pretty much the narrator goes on to say, however, her Rancor and recent coming to terms completed her transformation to a full-fledged villain. So pretty much the narrator said she was an indecisive person that wasn't good at strategy, but now with this being backed into a corner, she turned into a full-fledged villain and everything. Now, she looks like she's about to drink this one blood. Sue sees that, so she reacts to that. She sticks her tongue out and she breaks the vial. But we find out that, oh, good job, Sue. You're a level-headed individual. You're cool in battle. You have a cool mind. But actually, you made a mistake. That actually had some sort of decoy. It actually had a chemical where it attracts the high-end Nomu and comes your way. So pretty much we have it to where the high-end Nomu start targeting Sue and everything. And all of a sudden, as Ochako's getting close to the area to try to help Sue, she sees two Froppy. She sees two Sues, and she can tell that one of them is definitely Toga. Um, and pretty much with this, Toga made this distraction happen. She ended up transforming into Sue, and then all of a sudden she ends up drinking Twice's blood and ended up creating Twice. She's Twice. She starts doing Sad Man's Parade, and of course, all of a sudden, we have it to where this is when Kuragiri appeared and opened his portal and said, Toga, come on, let's go. We got a job to do and everything. We have to save Shigaraki and his allies. Toga, what do you want to do? And pretty much Toga's like, I want to slaughter the heroes starting with Hawks because he was the person that killed Twice. And he's like, send me out there, Kuragiri, which is to the Gungan Mountain Villa area. Now Ochako's trying to chase after Toga, and she's like, get back here, Toga. We still haven't had our chance to talk about romance. And you see in the panel, you have a moment where Toga's like, and she looks like she has some sort of weird understanding, and she looks a little bit, I guess, sad. And as she's going to the portal, you can see her eyes like just dim a bit as she's in the Twice body. And it's kind of a way where I guess you could say that Toga knows what she's doing and she's having some resentment for what she's doing. I'm not saying having some resentment, but she knows, like, in a way she's too far gone to the point like she can't talk about stuff like that. But like I said, at that moment, she heard Ochako's plea, and it's like, wait, there's somebody that cares, but it doesn't matter, So I don't know if this is leading to this whole thing where maybe Ochako is going to. I'm not trying to, or not. I don't know if it's going to be this whole thing where Ochako is going to turn Toga good, but maybe this might be a whole thing where Ochako might be able, I wouldn't say save Toga, but might be able to talk her down, and she might stop fighting through this whole thing. And Ochako might win their whole thing and say I don't know. I don't know where it's going to go. Maybe it's this whole thing, this weird thing where I don't know, where Ochako I wouldn't say wants to be friends with Toga, but she wants to have a better understanding of Toga, wants to be able to talk to her about some certain things that, well, let's be honest, typical girls would probably want to talk about, especially girls at their age, which I think they're around the same age. Toga's like pretty much a teenager anyways. So yeah, and as Toga's going into the portal, she goes on to say, like, I wish we could have, which again further sentiments the fact that in this case, even though I did make that reference, maybe it could happen that way, but from Toga's perspective, she's too far gone, and that's why she made the whole thing of like, I wish we could have, because she realizes, like, what I'm doing, I'm going full away. And again, the narrator made the mention early in the chapter, like, she became a full-fledged villain, so maybe this is Toga's way of acknowledging, like, I'm already too far gone, Ochako. I wish I could, but I'm too far gone. So yeah. Anyways, we get to the Gungan Mountain Villa area, and pretty much Hawks can realize it's Toga using Twice's blood and everything. So yeah, and he's wondering, like, was this Dobby who freaking gave her this? Eventually, Twice goes on to make the mention, or Toga goes on to make the mention. It's too late, and eventually ends up creating Sad Man's Parade, and does Sad Man's Parade infinite doubles, and you just see a lot of Twices just coming out of the freaking blue, and it's just like, oh shoot. Again, you see Dobby flying over and everything. You have our good girl, Mushroom Girl. It's like they're not giving us a second to breathe and everything. And then the chapter ends off with Ochako going through Kuragiri's portal, and she is in the Gungan Mountain Villa area, and she's saying, I'm not losing sight of you again, Toga. And last page of the chapter has it to where we see how Sue ended up wrapping her tongue around Ochako's wrist, ends up throwing her through the portal right as it's closing. Sue's also there too. She hung on there, and pretty much Sue says, Ochako, the feelings you locked up inside. And then again, the panel, the last panel, you do see the one news lady. I don't know what that's supposed to mean, but again, you just see some of the big names here in this Gungan Mountain Villa area. You see freaking Daba / Toya, Endeavor, all for one, and then Hawks, and then now Ochako has joined this freaking fray. In terms of this freaking battle, who would have thought Ochako's gonna freaking potentially maybe have some sort of weird scuffle with All for One before Deku even does? Who would have thought that, man? Who would have thought that? But I'm still having the opinion. It's just me. Like, you have Deku dealing with All for One Shigaraki, and I still have a weird feeling that All Might is gonna have something to play in this whole war arc. I just have this weird feeling. I feel like All Might will make a triumphant return, albeit I think it will be his last return in the series, because I really think it's gonna be that whole thing of the passing of the torch, sacrificing himself for Deku to overcome the threat. Because I think ultimately, I don't know if ultimately, but I think ultimately, if Deku ends up beating Shigaraki, I feel like the last person he has to fight up against is Prime All for One. Again, I don't know where the story could be going, but I could definitely see it to where All Might shows up in the form of Eri rewinding All Might back to his prime, and he fights All for One, and they have their final clash, maybe taking each other down once and for all. So I don't know, man. But this chapter was actually pretty short, only 15 pages. There is no break next week, so it's gonna be interesting to see where the chapter's gonna go. I don't know if we're gonna cut back to Deku. I don't know if we're gonna cut back to the Gungan Mountain Villa area, because right now those are honestly the two battle areas right now that, well, let's be honest, that's just the biggest things, so I don't know if we're gonna cut back to what Deku's doing, or we're gonna stay in the Gungan Mountain Villa area. But I'll say this, they definitely need more heroes at the Gungan Mountain Villa area, so it's gonna be interesting to see what they're going to do to be able to get there and give some backup, because Endeavor and Hawks, they're not doing too well. They're pretty much on their last they're on their last limbs, pretty much, I guess you can say. But another solid chapter in My Hero Academia. If you guys like the video, leave a like, put in the comment section your thoughts on this week's My Hero Academia manga chapter again, and things like that. But okay, I'll catch you guys later. So till then, guys, see you in the next video, and have a great rest of your day. Till then, guys, peace.